Thank you very much for staying with us here on the key points. Let me just quickly go through the last batch of messages. This one says, good morning. Even Notre Dame was built in 182 years, and I think they are still building it since the fire. Why the rush during these difficult times? That's from Kofi. This other message says, campaign pledges are pledges to the people. Personal pledges to God don't fall under campaign pledges. And that's from Asante. Thank you very much for your messages. Now, this week, the Privileges Committee, on which the Honorable Ricketts Hagan is a member, has been sitting. They heard testimony from the Honorable Ken Ohene-Agyapong, and he was giving reasons for his absenteeism from Parliament for 15 consecutive sitting days. Now, big in the news this week is that the committee has decided and has summoned the MP for Dom Kwabenya, Sarah Adwoa-Safo, publicly. They put those summons in the newspaper. I saw it myself, as well as in other means, in a bid to get to her. Honorable Ricketts Hagan is here with us, so is the Honorable Kpemka, and then we have Professor David Abdullahi. But so let me start with him. Professor Abdullahi, what do you make of the hearings this week? Ken Agyapong had always said he had evidence as to why he was unavailable, and he would provide it before the committee. It wasn't public, but we know that he gave his reasons, tendered in medical records, we are told. With Sarah Adwoa-Safo, the committee has decided to publicly summon her.
Yes, first, I think the Honorable Hagan, as a ranking member, knows much more than I do, but I think it is important to state that I heard the hearings were held in camera, which means that that there were issues of medical concerns, which is why they cannot have journalists come in. But in the case of Honorable Adwoa-Safo, I think efforts have been made to get in touch with her, and they haven't. And Honorable Kwenka, who's a lawyer, can clarify that anytime they put that information in the public domain, like apart from newspapers, yes, it means that she would have to then present herself for the hearing. Now, as at this particular point, it is always very difficult until you hear from the person the reasons why probably they have not been able to present themselves in Parliament according to Article 97(1)(c). Now, you know, one of the things is they could say they have health issues. They could talk about undertaking constitutional or constituency work, or maybe they can talk about if they were ministers and they had to, you know, undertake other responsibilities. But we've not yet heard from her. So my feeling now is I hope that she responds to, you know, the invitation by the Privileges Committee, and we can hear from her side. Then we can decide what the issue is going forward. Yeah.
I appreciate that you give her the benefit of the doubt, but it's two things. Since this had been done, that's the public summons, she's been seen in a video on social media, singing, you know. She's been seen in pictures, you know, which kinds of also puts her children front line and center. She was attending an event, a graduation event for her son or something like that. So it seems to me that it may become more and more difficult for people to sympathize or empathize with her, because it's almost as if, as these serious issues are being raised in country, the perception is that she seems to be laughing at those who are raising these issues.
Yes, but in fact, that brings to the whole notion of accountability. You know, public service is an honor, and anytime you serve, it is about public trust. Now, when you are giving that public trust, what is very important is for you to be accountable. Not only must you be accountable, you must be responsible. And at the end of the day, you have to have a high integrity and be ethical. If that is not done, and let's say you are being absent, that is derelicting your duty. Dereliction of duty, therefore, speaks to the fact that your conduct as a public holder comes into question because it shows lack of commitment and lack of professionalism. So, yes, even though she has come on public social media and spoken to some news outlets and all that kind of stuff, I still believe that there should be an opportunity for her. I think this is the last time the Privileges Committee has gone to that extent. Then if that is not done, then the Honorable Hagan can talk about what are the next steps, and probably if she should relinquish her position as an MP.
All right, let me come to Honorable Hagan. So you heard from Honorable Agyapong this week. For those who may not have been following critically, you've heard from him. What happens next?
Yeah, just to take you a few steps back and then come to that. As Prof rightly said, this issue was referred to us by Mr. Speaker on Article 97(1)(c) that our colleagues, these are our colleagues, Honorable Henry Quartey, who's the MP for Ayawaso Central, also a Greater Accra Regional Minister, Honorable Adwo Safo, MP for Domi Kwabenya, also the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, and Honorable Ohene Kennedy Japan, who is a MP for Asan Central. Now, this was done before we went on recess. I think it was one of the last acts that the Speaker did before recess and directed it to us. We were given 2 weeks for this hearing when we resumed. So we started immediately when we came in to do our first maiden meeting to address the modalities and all that. It was there that the decision was taken that we would do this in camera, as Prof has rightly referred to, because there was a speculation at that stage that either all three of them or a couple of them had medical issues, and that their reason or their discussion would be medical in nature. And the decision was taken that it would not be fair at this stage to put their medical, history or stuff in the public domain. So that's why we did the in camera. Now, when the usual process of serving or the summons went out, in Parliament, when you become a member, and my honorable brother here knows, there's a data on you because you give that information as to your name, your age, where you live, your children, a whole lot of information about you that will help trace you if someone needs you, someone needs to see you. Also, when you take a leave of absence, especially if you are going out of jurisdiction, you will have to indicate where you are going to be. If you're going to be in another country, the address of where you'll be. If the telephone number is going to be different, you indicate that. This day and age, we're able to use the same phone, Ghana to talk in the United States. So the summons or the invitation to bring someone to the Privileges Committee is done by the clerk. And by the clerk, extension is that we have a clerk on the Privileges Committee. So it's an administrative work. So they do that. There are many ways of doing it. As I said, you have information that you have on your data. You have emails these days. We reach people by emails. We use WhatsApp because people, when you call them, you don't get them. You can use WhatsApp. And there are other,
okay, so
handles.
I do know that the clerk of your committee had initially invited her.
Yeah.
But now you've had to summon her publicly. But just wrap up for me quickly. So
Okay.
Ken Agyapong, you've heard him.
Yes, but it's
You don't have too much time. Sorry,
okay.
that's why I'm
Just quickly on the Adwo Safo, and then I will come to you. Just 1 minute.
Okay.
So basically, we exhausted all avenues of trying to reach her, but our standing orders 2053 provides that we can go further by using the publication. And that is why we go to the publication. Now, on Honorable Kennedy Japan, he indicated to us when he invited him initially that he was going for a review. Finally, he came on Wednesday, and we basically did a hearing with him where he told us the reason why he was absent. He never challenged that he was absent because it's not 15 continuous days. It has to be 15 days in a 15 settings. Yeah, in a session. So he provided documents which were, again, as we suspected, medical in nature about the procedure and other things that he did. And then he spoke with us verbally while he was not available for that period. So now it is on us to examine this medical stuff that he brought to us, together with his own verbal conversation with us, and then make a recommendation.
Okay. So Adjoa Safo, how will you know she's going to come or will appear before the?
Well, we don't know.
Is there a sanction for her not showing up?
Well, first of all, we didn't even know, or I didn't know he was even out of jurisdiction, because if you remember in the E-Levy days, she keeps appearing or not appearing, or there was issue of allegation of impersonation and all that. So one day she's here, the other day she's not, and all that. So basically what we have done, and don't forget, we have also served her through her place of abode and all that. What we have done, we hope and expect that she'll be able to get it. It was only when she came on Joy FM to do an interview to say that she's not been receiving the invitations being sent her.
Well, she said she had not been served. That was what she said.
Well, but we had served her, so obviously she's not been receiving it. That's why we went further to make sure that we're using every possible avenue to make sure that we're able to reach her. So, as you said, if she doesn't appear, then obviously we'll have to go to Mr. Speaker and tell her that we've done the job. One of the three did not appear. This is the steps we took for her to appear.
And she didn't come.
She didn't come. We've exhausted.
Is there a deadline for her?
Well, we have indicated 6th of July for her to appear, which obviously gives her about 3 weeks from the day the publication actually came out. So that should be an adequate time. Also, in the 2053 of our standing orders, it says publication in the press. It didn't say publication in the international press. But then obviously this day and age, and knowing now that she's not in the jurisdiction, that is why we have also employed online, media to be able to, because Ghanaians read online media outside the diaspora, Ghana Web and all those. Okay. So hopefully she will get a hint of it.
All right.
And then make an appearance.
Honorable Kpemka, what's your reading on this? I know this has become a delicate subject for the party because she comes from the largest and controls the largest constituency in Ghana. She holds these 70 to 90,000 votes depending on what election year you are looking at. What's your reading? Should she be encouraged to come? What are the implications of her not coming? Should she resign as gender minister, member of parliament?
Thank you very much once more. You see, if I were the Honorable Adjoa Safo, a very good friend of mine in parliament, I will honor this invitation. You see, you've made a mark in your contribution to the nation through the medium of parliament. So you don't have to treat that same parliament with contempt and disdain. So if I were one of her advisors, I'll tell her to honor this invitation without further delay. Because remember that all that is happening have constitutional basis. As the two parties have rightly pointed out, Prof. Abdullahi and my brother Richard Hagan, it's very clear that this actually is actuated by Article 97, 1C, okay, where it is incumbent, and of course, if you may permit me, I'll read it.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
that a member of parliament shall vacate his seat in parliament. And there are A and B. Then I have C. If he is absent without the permission in writing of the speaker, and he is unable to offer a reasonable explanation to the Parliamentary Committee on Privileges from 15 sittings of a meeting of Parliament during any period that Parliament has been summoned to meet and continues to meet. So this is a constitutional injunction. It is not any ordinary legislation. So if you have done this, the caveat there is whether you have an explanation that is considered reasonable. And the reasonability of that will be determined having regard to the evidence and oral and documentary that you produce before the Privileges Committee to convince them. Then they will make general recommendation to plenary for debate and adoption of same as a working document. So that's the procedure. And so having tried to serve him through other media, and it wasn't possible, and having tried to reach her in all aspects that they tried by the records that they have of her in Parliament and not working, they decided to actually invoke, as he has rightly pointed out, particularly Standing Order 205, and then Article 1036, which, with your permission again, I just read that. 1036 says that a committee appointed under this article, and that is Committee of Parliament, which is, in this case, the Privileges Committee, under this article shall have the powers, rights, and privileges of the High Court, or a justice of the High Court at a trial for enforcing the attendance of witnesses and examining them on oath and compelling the production of documents. So they are relying on this and Standing Order 205 to compel her to attend. And remember that our legal jurisprudence also is very clear. If you look at Article 19.3, it also makes it very clear that the trial of any person for anything done by the person has to be done in the presence of the person unless it has become practically impossible so to do. So again, if with your permission, I may just read it for clarity. It says, Article 19.3. Right, so 19.3 says that, right, it says that the trial of a person charged with a criminal offense, that's in the case of crime, shall take place in his presence unless he refuses to appear before the court for the trial to be conducted in his presence after he has been duly notified. So he conducts it. So you can apply this mutatis mutandis with all the necessary modifications to mean that if you have done everything possible to get a person to attend, a person doesn't, you can go ahead. If you can prove that all means has been exhausted and it is not possible to reach the person. And all these things dovetail into one major legal principle, the Odi Ultram Patrem rule of natural justice, which says that before you condemn a man, listen to him, which is so fundamental in legal jurisprudence. And it has this history even from the Bible itself, where God, before he punished Adam and Eve, he asked them, where art thou? Have you eaten of the fruit that I forbade thou from eating? And they had to provide answers to justify their conduct before he prescribed the punishment appropriate that was supposed to be meted out to them. So it has its roots even from the Bible itself, that before you condemn a person, first give the person a hearing. That is why the very article that we are relying on for this says that the person ought to offer a reasonable explanation. So if you are unable to offer an explanation that is considered by the committee and plenary to be reasonable, action is then taken, and then the appropriate penal consequences are exacted on you, including even expelling you. But one thing, Honorable Richard, that I have noticed, and I know you have also, is that we've practiced this. This is the 8th Parliament. Unfortunately, there is no precedent.
There's no
precedent.
Yes.
To show that we've had to face a similar situation in the past.
So this is
and
the
this
first
was the
time.
decision that was taken. So we are going to set this as precedent that will guide us as a nation going forward. To be honest with you, I having had the privilege to serve for 4 years, these things were very, very common. You could go to Parliament
absenteeism
for up to 2-3 weeks and a particular member of Parliament is absent. But nobody took the initiative to invoke the appropriate constitutional injunctions for us to bring finality to this matter. So this particular issue will bring finality. I have heard my senior in Parliament, the Honorable Ejepong, and he's been very clear and categorical. He says that, look, I have justification. I'll appear before the committee and provide same. He's since done that. That is the mark of a person who has respect for Parliament and the Privileges Committee. I was again privileged to also be a member of the Privileges Committee. And on all the hearings we've had, we've never had any situation like we are facing now, where we've had to summon somebody who refused continuously to attend to our sermons and etc. And so we had to employ all the necessary means in the standing orders and in the constitution to compel the person to attend and all that. So it's a novel situation, but we'll see how Mr. Speaker will navigate this and set a precedent to guide the conduct of the business of Parliament going forward.
Right. Let me take a final word from Professor Abdullahi, and I'll let him go. So, Professor Abdullahi, you've indicated that the Honorable MP for Dom Kwabenya should at least find a way to connect with the Privileges Committee. Should she resign her position as Gender Minister, at least? Even if her parliamentary seat, she's elected by people, they've not called for her to resign, fine. But there are lots of strategic and critical issues in the children, gender and social protection space that much as there's a caretaker minister, they are not really being fully dealt with because the caretaker minister is also busy with sanitation. So should she resign that position?
I think anywhere else in the world, she would have resigned a long time ago. But I would state that it is the president. She serves at the will of the president, or she was appointed by the president. It is, if she is not going to resign, I think the president should take the first step in making sure that they find somebody else to replace her to be able to carry on with the work that her particular ministry has to deliver to the people. It must be made in, like I started much earlier, I talked about the fact that public service is a privilege. It's about public trust. If that, therefore, has been abused, I think if she's not going to resign, I mean, anywhere else, like I said, she would have resigned a long time ago. But if that doesn't happen, then the president must act.
All right. Thank you very much, Professor Abdullahi. Many thanks. Let's take a quick commercial break and then we'll say goodbye by taking final comments from the Honorable Kpemka and the Honorable Ricketts Hagan. So just my final questions to the Honorable Hagan and the Honorable Kpemka. So there's a question also about whether the president is the enabler of Adwoa Safo's behavior or whatever anyone may want to call it. Honorable Kpemka, maybe the president has kept faith long enough, maybe now is a bit too long. Should he ask her to at least resign from her position as gender minister, or should he fire her?
I don't even think we need to get there. All we need now is for the Honorable Adwoa Safo herself to say that, look, looking at the circumstances of my case, looking at the fact that I am unable to continue to perform my duties because I have other commitments and etc., and representing one of the largest constituencies, you can just say that, look, I'm calling it quits by honorably resigning, rather than
that is
the
as a minister or,
yes,
the,
as a
or
minister,
the MP?
As a minister.
Okay.
And even if you can't continue to be MP, you can also resign. All that is anticipated under Article 97. Very clearly, it is articulated. If you are no longer, you can vacate your seat, and a by-election will then be conducted. So none of us, so we were given the opportunity to serve our nation, to take the nation to ransom. Because, as you rightly pointed out, she actually got a lot of sympathy from the majority of us because of the reasons she was giving about family issues and etc. But where it is now getting to, it looks like a decision has to be taken. And I know that His Excellency the President is definitely waiting for Parliament to go through the processes. And when they have actually submitted their outcome to Parliament, plenary adopts it, then, of course, action will definitely be taken. But the rule of law has to take precedence, and he has to be allowed to exhaust all the remedies available at law.
But she's on social media. Does that upset you?
It does. It does. I think that if anytime Parliament releases something about her, she comes up with these things on the TikTok and etc., it's not good of her image and all that. It's like you are making fun of the system that has made you who you are. Because having risen from where She came from all the way through to become an MP, 3-termed MP, and then a minister for procurement, and now minister for gender. Huge reputation to protect. And I think that she doesn't have to do anything further that will jeopardize that, because the future holds more for her than she thinks.
Finally, Honorable Hagan, when will the Honorable Quartey appear?
I think the thinking now is that we will do Honorable Quartey together with Honorable Adwoa-Safo, so that we'll kill two birds with one stone, if we
So
can say that.
are you seeking an extra week to do this work then from the Speaker?
Yes, of course. Yeah, we need an extension to be able to continue, because we have exceeded our time mandate given to us by the Speaker. I don't want to pass any judgment.
That's why I didn't ask you.
on this issue, because obviously because of my my position in all this. But what really baffles me, and then again on the issue of the videos,
The social media
a lot
videos.
of things can be done on social media these days. I cannot tell what time those videos were made, whether they are current or old. So I don't want to go there. But what baffles me is that let's take the parliamentary role of Honorable Adwoa-Safo out of the whole thing. Supposing she was just a minister appointed by the president. We know in our constitution, if you can't do the work, resign, fine. But what would have been the procedure at the executive end in dealing with this matter? Because the executive is silent on this. It's as if now the executive is waiting for Parliament to bring some finality to this for them to be able to act. And I find it quite baffling. So I'm saying if she wasn't a minister, if she wasn't
An
a
MP.
member of Parliament, lawyer is here, what are the laid down? Because the executive don't have the privileges committee or privileges ministry. Maybe they should think of having one in the
But they have
future.
the chief of staff who will be cracking
Yeah.
the whip.
No,
So-
you just invite the person.
Yeah.
And if the
So-
person is not able to offer, then you can
I
ask for.
I am really wondering what is going on at that end. Okay, as Honorable said, they can really invite the person, but it's been going on for some time now. I would like to know what sort of excuse duty, excuse leave, if any, that the Honorable has submitted to the executive,
Okay.
which I'm not privy to.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. And many thanks to Professor Abdullah as well, who joined us on Zoom. You've been watching the key points here on TV3 and 3FM 92.7. Thanks for joining us on social media as well and for all your messages. I'm Jifa Bampo. Thanks to the entire production team. Up next, of course, is Kids Arena at 10.